The diving bell went into the water at 1400 hours. Sarah had spent the morning reading the classifieds twice and making notes, and then reading the notes and making more notes, and then sitting very still for 20 minutes thinking about what she was going to do and why she was going to do it and whether it was the right thing, and deciding that it was the only thing and that was close enough. Aldous had spent the morning preparing the bell, checking the tether, testing the comms, running the secondary systems twice, the kind of preparation that takes longer than it needs to because the person doing it needs the time more than the equipment needs the checking. They did not talk much. 11 years. The descent took 55 minutes, deeper than the ROV dive. 3,200 feet of cold, dark water above them by the time the bell's lights found the ocean floor, and Sarah pressed her face to the viewport and saw the USS Harmon waiting exactly where she had been waiting for 81 years. Sarah, Aldous said from the surface. Sonar is clear. The contact is on the far side of the formation. Maintaining distance from the bell. You have a window. How long? Sarah said. Based on the pattern in the files, Aldous said. Maybe 40 minutes before it completes its circuit and comes back around to the Harmon side. Maybe less. Sarah looked at the Harmon. At the bridge windows 20 feet from the bell. Dark inside. No figures visible yet. But the sonar was showing movement inside the hull. The same movement it had been showing since she first picked up the contact. Still there. Still moving with pattern and purpose through the passageways of a 1943 destroyer at 3,200 feet. Take me to the forward hatch, she said. Aldous brought the bell in close along the port side of the Harmon. The forward deck hatch was there exactly as the ship's plans from the classifieds showed it. A standard Navy deck hatch from 1943. Oval, heavy steel, the kind of hatch designed to be opened from either side. It was already open. Sarah looked at it for a moment. The hatch that should have been dog shut from the inside for 81 years was standing open, hinged back on its mechanism, waiting, like someone had opened it recently, like someone had known she was coming and had opened it for her. She looked at the bridge windows. A figure was standing at the nearest one, the same figure from the raw V footage. Still, upright, facing her. And as she watched it raised one hand and pointed. Not at her, past her. At the open hatch. Come in, Sarah said quietly. It is telling me to come in. Aldous on the comms. Sarah, the files say every previous attempt that got this close was detected by the contact within minutes. Every one of them. I know, Sarah said. This is different. The crew is helping. That is new. None of the previous attempts had that. Take me to the hatch. The bell positioned over the open hatch, and Sarah put on her gear, short range, tethered to the bell. She was not going far inside. She did not need to go far. She just needed to get through that hatch and find the man who had been standing at the bridge window for 81 years and ask him one question. She went through the hatch. The cold hit her immediately. Not the cold of the water outside. Something different. Something that lived inside this ship and had been living in it for a long time and had the cold of deep time in it. The cold of a place that had not been warm since 1943. She was in the forward passageway of the USS Harmon. Her torch cut through the dark and found the details of a 1943 destroyer preserved in the cold and the pressure. Pipes running along the overhead, valves and fittings, a fire extinguisher bracket on the bulkhead still holding its extinguisher, the deck beneath her boots solid and level. Everything exactly as it had been on the night of November 14, 1943, except for the 81 years of stillness layered over everything like a second skin. She moved forward toward the bridge. He was waiting in the passageway, not at the bridge window this time. In the passageway itself, standing in the dark 10 feet ahead of her with his hands at his sides and his Navy uniform still crisp in the cold that had preserved everything on this ship, including the men who served her. He was young, mid-20s. Someone's son. Someone's brother. The kind of young face that belongs in a photograph on a family mantelpiece, not in the passageway of a destroyer at 3,200 feet. His eyes were the color of deep water, still and old in a young face. The eyes of someone who has had 81 years to think about everything they have ever seen and done and been, and has come to a very settled place about all of it. Sarah stopped in front of him. She said, "My name is Sarah Voss. I am a marine archaeologist. I found your ships 3 days ago. I have been in contact with the Navy. I know what happened on November 14, 1943, and I know what has been keeping you here, and I know it is getting ready to move. I want to get you and your crew out before it does. I need to know if that is possible, and I need to know how." The young man looked at her for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was the voice of someone who had not used it in a long time and was being very careful with it. Slow and deliberate. choosing each word the way you choose words when words are all you have left. We have been waiting, he said, not for rescue. We stopped waiting for rescue a long time ago. We have been waiting for someone to come who could do what needs to be done. Someone who understood what it is and was not afraid of it. Are you afraid of it? Sarah said. We were, he said, for a long time. Then we understood it. You cannot be afraid of something you understand? You can only decide what to do about it, what needs to be done, Sarah said. He looked at her, those still deep water eyes. It cannot be fought, he said. It cannot be driven away. Every attempt the Navy made failed because they came with force, and force is not the answer. The answer is the same answer it has always been for things that are very old and very patient and have been in one place for a very long time. Sarah waited. You have to give it somewhere else to be, he said. Something that pulls it away. Something it wants more than it wants us. And then you have to move very quickly while it is distracted. What does it want? Sarah said. He looked at the bulkhead beside him, at the ship around him, at the 81 years of stillness layered over everything. The same thing it has always wanted, he said. Something new, something it has not had before. It has had us for 81 years, and we are not new anymore. We have not been new for a very long time. That is why it is getting ready to leave. It is looking for something new. Sarah stood in the passageway of the USS Harmon and thought about what he had said, about something new, about distraction, about moving quickly while something very old and very patient turned its attention elsewhere. She thought about the transponder array she had used in other contexts, about frequencies, about what the classifier said the thing responded to, about what new meant to something that had been in one place, Nace before the war. I think I know what to do, she said. The young man looked at her. For the first time in the conversation, something moved in those deep water eyes. Not surprise, something quieter than that, something that had been waiting a very long time and had just been told it was almost done waiting. Tell me, he said. Sarah told him. He listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, How long do you need? 20 minutes, Sarah said. Maybe less. He nodded once. We will be ready, he said. Sarah Aldous said in her ear, The contact, it is completing its circuit. It is coming back around to the Harmon side. You have maybe 8 minutes. Sarah looked at the young man. I will be back tomorrow, she said, with everything we need. Tell your crew to be ready. He looked at her with those old eyes and that young face. We have been ready, he said quietly. For 81 years. Sarah went back through the hatch. The bell pulled her up, and in the dark passageway of the USS Harmon at 3,200 feet, a young man in a 1943 Navy uniform turned and walked back toward the bridge to tell his crew that tomorrow their watch was finally ending. Chapter 4 ends here. Chapter 5, Finanail, coming Friday. Subscribe to The Drifting Dark. The crew of the dead fleet has been ready for 81 years. Tomorrow, they come home.